welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's Chelmsford Conservation Commission meeting, July 21st. This meeting is being recorded. And if we could just do a quick roll call of the commissioners, a quick check off. Let's see, Dave's not on yet, right? No Dave? All right, Bill?
Here.
Good. Mark?
Hey.
Chris Timla?
Here.
Carl?
Here.
John Swenson?
Yeah.
Good. Here. Carl? Here. John Swenson?
Yeah.
Good. Very good. We had a little bit of an echo, but that's all right. And our agent, Katie Gerton, is also present as well. So looking at the agenda for tonight's meeting, the first item we have is our open session citizen concerns. So if we have someone that has an item that's not on tonight's agenda that wishes to be recognized, please you raise your hand. Let us know if you have some sort of public question or comment at this point in time. Okay, I don't see anyone, so we'll move on to the agenda here. The first item we have is a notice of intent. It's a new filing related to Dunshire Drive for a culvert replacement, and we have a legal advertisement that we need to put into the record, so I'll read that now. Pursuant to the Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, the Town of Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a remote public hearing here on Tuesday, July 21st, 2020 at 7 p.m. to consider the following application. Under the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Section Chapter 131 and Section 40, the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187, the Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a remote public meeting on July 21st, 2020 at 7 p.m. for a notice of intent filed by the Town of Chelmsford Department of Public Works. The applicant wishes to replace culverts under Dunshire Drive. Work will take place within 100 feet of a wetland. Okay, so we can now start this hearing. And do we have a representative from the Chelmsford Public Works that would like to speak now? A representative.
Well, my name is Devin Batchelder. I'm a certified wetland scientist with Weston and Sampson, and I'd be happy to speak with you folks about the project. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So I'm here to represent the town with regards to the notice of intent for Dunshire Drive. And for a little backstory, the Dunshire Drive is a residential cul-de-sac. It's bisected by perennial stream, Deep Brook, and the area has experienced flooding issues and is looking to upgrade their infrastructure, prevent additional flooding. So the project includes the replacement of 2 culverts, the creation of 3 vegetated swales to allow for natural infiltration of stormwater runoff, several sections of stream bank restoration, some hand repair of some loose stones, and hand removal of accumulated debris. The existing culverts on site are 2 8-foot corrugated metal half-pipe culverts, and they are being proposed to be replaced with 2 8-foot wide concrete box culverts with their associated wing walls. The stream bank restoration portion is going to include 3 different techniques that are outlined on your plan set. That might be the easiest place to be looking at them. These are identified for moderate erosion. So for the small area that's experiencing moderate erosion, we're proposing a flex MSD vegetated wall system. And so these, if you haven't seen one of these before, they're sacks filled with soil that are then staked into place and seeded. So it creates a vegetated wall. It's just a more natural system for the area. For an areas experiencing minor erosion, we're proposing live stake plantings that'll provide better bank stability in the future. And then we have prepared some minor non-invasive repairs. That's just loose stones that need to be mortared back into place in most areas. So this project will impact 4 wetland resource areas that are identified by the Mass Wetlands Protection Act. Those include bank, land underwater, bordering land subject to flooding, and your riverfront area. For your bank, you're proposing 95 linear feet, and that's for both the culvert installation and the vegetative wall installation. Land underwater will include 1,525 square feet of impact for the culvert installation. Bordering land subject to flooding will include 4,200 square feet of impact. That's for the culvert installation and for the vegetated swales installation. I'd like to note that by replacing these half-pipe culverts with the box, you're actually going to be adding 38 cubic yards of carrying capacity within the stream. That's within your bordering land subject to flooding. For your riverfront area, it's the same 4,200 square feet of impact for the culverts and for the vegetated swales. Sediment erosion control measures will be included both upstream and downstream. Those will include temporary sandbag cofferdams and sediment curtain downstream. Bypass pumping will utilize an 18-inch bypass culvert. In summary, we feel that this project is going to represent a nice environmental improvement for the stream. I don't know if Christina is on from the DPW. If she is, I'll let her introduce herself and add any extra details she might have. I know she was going to try to join us.
Thank you, Devin. This is Christina Papadopoulos, town engineer in Chelmsford. You did an excellent job of explaining the project. So to give you a little background also about the Dunshire Drive area, it's essentially in a large floodplain area, and it does experience flooding from time to time. The idea is that we have these 2 really old culverts, these metal culverts that are deteriorating. Even if you look on top of the road surface, you'll notice that the road is starting to form small sinkholes over the culverts, both of them. So it is definitely time for them to get replaced. Fortunately, we had the opportunity to apply for a MVP grant through the state's EEA, and we got the grant to design, to hire Weston & Sampson to design and permit these 2 culverts. And that is what they have done. And I'm here to answer any questions you have regarding the project.
Thank you, Devin, and thank you, Christina, for that presentation overview of the project. We appreciate that. What we're going to do now that we've had the overview presentation is go to our commissioners and have the commissioners have a chance to ask questions or make comments at this point in time. I see that Dave McLaughlin's been able to join us, and would like to see if we could have Dave at this point has any questions or comments that he'd like to make. Dave, if you do, just come off, unmute yourself and let us know.
All right, I think, can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
You won't be able to see me because I don't want to show you my face.
And we appreciate that.
Thank you. Christina, who's going to do the work and when will it be done?
So the idea is that we have applied for what we call phase 2 of the MVP grant, which we will be notified in the middle of August whether we receive that grant or not. It is on the larger side of $650,000. So, and it's very competitive this round. So we're hoping that we get it. If everything works out well and we do get the grant, then we hope to bid the project immediately and start working on it this fall.
So,
who will be doing it? We will be bidding out the project, the heavy lifting of it. It's going to require some machinery that the DPW can't handle. So we'll be hiring that part out. The DPW will be compensating and working within our own means to do some of the stream bank restoration, which we can do, which we have the ability to do by hand, as well as those the 3 bioretention areas and any other surfacing of the road, finish loaming and seeding and that type of thing. So it's going to be a little bit of both of us, a little bit of contractor and a little bit of DPW effort, but mostly the heavy lifting will be definitely done by the contractor.
And what happens if the state doesn't give us the funding?
We will figure that out when it happens, but the culverts, no matter what, will need to get replaced.
Second question, is there work going to be done on either side of both culverts? And how far up the stream and down the stream will the work be done?
Devin has some plans, I believe, that might be able to explain that a little bit better, or Devin can speak to it better than I can.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit of work.
Hold on, Devin. First of all, would you slow down when you speak?
Sure thing.
Okay. Are you going to, and when you tell me what you're going to do, will you actually be physically in the stream to do the work?
For the culvert replacements, some work will be involved in the stream by the nature of needing to dig out the culverts and remove them. A little bit of work will be needed both upstream and downstream in order to allow for dewatering and access of the area. On the plans that you can see the scope, I don't believe it's much more than about 15 feet on either side of the culverts, but we'd have to measure it off to be safe. The remaining work, the Flex ME bags, I believe, are not proposing any stream impact as part of their installation. That's just bank impact.
So there's no clearing of the stream or digging it out or anything like that? It's just doing on the sides of the stream?
Not beyond the culvert installations, you are correct.
Okay. On one of the back pages, there's reference to a bioretention swale. Where is that going to be located? I couldn't see it.
The 3 vegetated swales are located next to the culverts. Let me see if I can direct you to an exact page on the plans. If you look on sheet, the proposed conditions site plan, I believe it's page 5.
C101?
The C101, you got it.
Okay.
There are 2 vegetated swales located at the upstream culvert and 1 located at the downstream culvert. And those are your bioretention.
Whose responsibility will it be to maintain those swales going forward?
That would be the DPW will do that.
Okay, that's all I had, Chris.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. So we'll continue on to see if we have commissioner questions. Bill Vines, Bill, if you have any questions, just come off mute and let us know what you got.
I'm glad to see that something's being proposed up here. We've had a lot of issues with that brook for a long time. I think Dave asked all the good questions, so I'm fine with everything. I hope you get the grant.
Hey, thanks, Bill. Mark Gibbs, any questions? Mark, you're still on mute if you're speaking. Katie, can we get him off mute?
Am I
Yeah,
on?
there we go. Yeah, you're on now. Yeah, good, you're good.
Still on mute?
No, we can hear you now. Katie, can we get him off mute?
Am I on?
Yeah, you're on now. Yeah, you're good.
Still on mute? I didn't have any other
We can hear
questions.
you now.
I didn't have any other questions.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, you're on now. Yeah, there we go. I didn't have any other questions.
All right. We got a bit of an echo in the background, but let's move over to Chris Timela and see if Chris has any questions.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I think the background was coming from Mr. Gibbs anyway, so let's keep him muted. No, I think I'm all set. I mean, I think it makes sense.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Thanks. And then moving down the commission lineup, we've got Carl.
Yeah, this looks really good. I don't have any questions. Thanks.
Good. And John Swenson, any questions, comments? John, you're off mute now. Yeah.
I'm off mute?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I've worked with these box culverts before. I've set a lot of them with cranes and stuff. They're a perfect answer to what's happening here.
Good. Good. Excellent. All right. And Katie Girton, our agent. Katie, anything you want to add? I know you gave us an agent's report. Any recommendations?
Just that this will need a waiver from our 25-foot, obviously, because they're working right in the stream.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks.
It did receive a file number. I know I have on this that it doesn't have one, but it does have one now. And it's
Okay.
on the DEP website.
All right. Well, thanks, Katie.
That's all I have.
right, good, good. This is a public hearing, so if any member of the public that's on this remote meeting call wants to ask a question or make a comment, you know, just raise your hand or you know, kind of flag us that you would like to speak, and we'll give you that opportunity. We just wait a moment for that. And if you do have a question or comment, please identify yourself with your name and your address as well for the record. All right, I don't see any public comments at this point in time. It sounds like the first step would be to waive our 25-foot, we need a motion to waive our 25-foot setback. If we could have a motion to that effect.
This is Dave McLaughlin. I move that we waive the 25-foot no disturbance.
Thank you, Dave.
Second.
Was that Billy Vines, I think, on the second?
Yes.
Thanks, Bill. Any discussion before we vote? And no discussion. And now we have to do a roll call vote, so we'll just take it from the top here. So Dave, your vote, please.
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Mark? Mark Gibbs? Mark, you're still on mute. A little trouble there with his mute button. We'll circle back to Mark in a minute. Chris Timla?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
John?
Okay. We'll circle back to Mark in a minute. Chris Timla?
Yes.
Carl? Yes. John? Okay. We'll circle back to Mark in a minute. Chris Timla? Yes.
And Mark?
Carl? Yes. John? Okay. We'll circle back.
I think I heard Mark say, okay. Thank you, Mark. We appreciate that. So that was unanimous on the 25-foot waiver. And then now this is a notice of intent. So we need an order of conditions motion as well, too. Who would like to make that motion for an order of conditions?
Move, Chris.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. Bill with the motion, and we need a second on Bill's motion.
Second by Dave.
Dave with the second. Any discussion? No discussion.
Motion, and we need a second on Bill's motion.
Second by Dave.
Dave with a second. Any discussion?
All
Okay,
right.
there's,
So
there's something going on with Mark's computer causing the
Yeah.
echo.
yeah,
Every time he unmutes, we hear the whole
Replay.
sentence all over again.
it's like a replay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody from telemedia knows what's going on, or if we can fix it anyway.
It's going to be, yeah.
I mean, he can do like thumbs up or thumbs down. Or
Yeah,
he
I
can
like
do,
that.
Or he can do a chat.
Yeah,
He can do a private chat to you, Katie, if he has a question.
a chat. Yeah,
Yeah, I like that idea. That's good, Chris Dimla. Yeah, thumbs up or
There
thumbs
you
down.
go.
Yep, good,
He's got-
good.
Okay.
He's got the idea. Excellent. So let's take the vote from the top on the main motion here. Dave, please.
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mark. Mark, give us the thumbs up, please, or the thumbs down. I think he's got a delay on his on his end receiving. So let's keep an eye on Mark's. Yep, we got the thumbs up. Thank you, Mark. And then we've got Chris Timla
Yep.
and Carl,
Yes.
John. He's got thumbs up too. Great. So that was unanimous. So thank you very much. We appreciate Christina and Devin, your presentation. You guys are all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. All right, the next hearing that we have scheduled in tonight's remote meeting is a notice of intent new for 44 Central Square to construct a 32-unit condominium. And we have a legal notice that I need to read into the record first. Let me do that now. And so the legal notice is as follows. under the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Chelmsford Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 187. The Chelmsford Conservation Commission will conduct a remote public meeting on July 21st, 2020 at 7 p.m. for a notice of intent filed by Stonegate Construction Corp. / Oddfellows Project, LLC. The applicant wishes to construct a 32-unit condominium and renovate existing buildings at 44 Central Square / 1 Billerica Road. Work will take place within 100 feet of the wetland. And so now we'll have a presentation from the applicant's representatives. I see Katie Enright is present tonight as the applicant's engineer. Katie, would you like to address the commission in the meeting, please?
Yes, please. Good evening, everyone. Katie Enright with Howard Stein Hudson here tonight representing Stonegate Construction and Oddfellows Project LLC. The project owner, Americal, is also, or not the project owner, but the property owner, Americal, is also represented tonight on the call. If there's any questions related to the ownership. Katie, would you let me share my screen as I go through my presentation? It's already up. All right.
And Katie Enright, just a point, kind of following up on Dave McLaughlin's comment earlier, if you could take it kind of slow, slow the pace a little bit for us with the Zoom format, I think it'd be helpful for us to kind of catch, all of your points as you go through the presentation. So I think that might help us.
Absolutely.
Great.
All right, let me get to the beginning. Just screen mode. All right. Is everyone seeing my screen? Great, very good. So good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight with the redevelopment project known as Oddfellows Fisk and the new multifamily structure. The Santander Bank is also on this property, and the property is known as 1 Billerica Road and 44 Central Square. This is the project that you saw, I believe, last fall. Most of you, I believe, were on the commission then when we had an all board meeting just to introduce the overall scheme of the project. So a little update since then, we've received applicability from the planning board, which allowed us to move forward into site plan review with the planning board. And we have had one meeting with the planning board at this point, and we will return to them tomorrow evening. We have also had to go to the historical commission regarding demolition of a portion of the Fisk house. And we'll also be moving the outbuilding that's on the site in a smaller format within the project, which you're not going to see on tonight's plans because I haven't issued a full revision yet. We're also in a process with the Historic District Commission where they've previously given us applicability or certificate of appropriateness on the Oddfellows renovation and the new multifamily structure. And we'll be back before them with the Fisk house renovation and the rest of the site. So we've been a long way, and there are quite a few boards that are in this process. So we're here tonight starting off the Conservation Commission hearings with the notice of intent that we've filed. This project is within the 200-foot riverfront area of Beaver Brook. It's also within 100 feet of a bordering vegetated wetland. We're also within the floodplain and the floodway of Beaver Brook. So there are significant resource areas within the site. Although, as most of you are probably familiar with, the site today is pretty well constructed. This is an existing conditions plan. Nope, it went a little too fast. Of the site, you can see Oddfellows, Fisk, Santander, and essentially the rest of the site is paved as a parking lot. And the area is essentially pretty much impervious. This is the edge of the mean annual high water here and the wetland delineation here to the site. The site has different amounts of drainage on the site. It has a drainage system currently that collects in catch basins and goes through a storm scepter unit, which was added when the Santander Bank was built new. All of this drainage flow goes through this storm scepter and out through a pipe at the edge of the wetland here. The rest of the—
Excuse me, Katie.
Yes.
Just interrupting. I'm having a little trouble. I'm not sure if others are actually seeing the plans there. The lines are not that definitive. That's better
Okay.
now. Yeah.
This is better? Okay, I can stay on this
better.
sheet. That's fine.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
not a problem at all.
Thank you.
Let me just see if I can also see you while I'm here. There you go. No, that's fine. And that's why the color definitely helps when we're doing this. So the remainder of the paved site, which is under the project here, essentially offlows right to the brook and to the wetland. So there's no curbs in these areas. The water just flows off to the vegetation along the edge of Beaver Brook and along the little bit of vegetation that's between the parking area and the wetlands. It's to the rear of the site. The proposal is to essentially take out and redo all of the existing pavement, remove any excess pavement, and construct this new structure at the back of the parking lot. So this structure actually entirely fits within a paved area that currently exists. And actually the paved area goes out further and closer to the wetlands on all sides. The project is to essentially redo the pavement throughout the area to fit this project. You can see we've relocated, this is the 200-foot outer riparian line here. We've looked to try to relocate a lot of pavement up between the Santander and Fisk House. What that does is it brings some of the pavement away from the edge of the river and provides parking for the Fisk House renovation. We've also provided additional parking adjacent to Santander. By doing that, there's an outbuilding here, which we're not showing on here. We had originally looked to demolish that, but we're actually going to save the original portion of that building and move that into this area here. Can you see my hand on the screen? Okay, so that outbuilding is actually going to move to this location here in the future plans that you see. And we're proposing a small addition on the back of Fisk House to provide new ADA access from these parking spaces. We're also adding some parking in this area here. So we're taking some additional pavement away and putting it between the Oddfellows and the Fisk House. And that's to provide the new restaurant, which we're looking to put on the first floor of that building with, again, closer proximity parking than exists there today. Then as you come down into the site from Central Square, this is an area that's paved currently behind the Fisk House. This will now be kind of a service entry and also a second entry for the upper apartments. That'll be on the second and third floor of the existing Oddfellows building. And there'll be some additional parking here. And what we've done is try to chimney it away from the river and the riverfront area as much as possible. This will provide access also into the garage of the multifamily building. So this building itself is the same footprint as the Gristmill project, although it's very different architecturally than the Gristmill project because we are located within the historic district. Also because the project is within the floodplain, which the Gristmill was not, the garage level is actually at the surface of the parking lot. So you will see the first floor of this building, although it won't look necessarily like a garage because it'll be sided down to the ground, the garage will actually be open on the first floor. To allow for floodwaters to pass through the building. We're accomplishing that with flood vents, which I'll show you a little bit later. But essentially the garage door will be here and there'll be flood vents, or there are proposed flood vents around the entire structure, which will allow the floodwaters to flow directly through that garage and out the other side. And then all the living floors are above that. So there's 4 stories of condominiums above that, which is very much the same as the Gristmill project across the street. So what you'll see is very similar to what you see when you look up Cushing Place right now from this elevation here. The rest of the parking, there is parking at 1 space per unit under the building. So again, that's not surface parking anymore. So you'll have clean runoff from the roof in close proximity to the brook. You'll also have this new parking area here, which is pretty significantly less pavement than you see in close proximity to the wetland and the brook in this area also. And this will provide the second space for everyone that's living within the condominium structure. You can see also that we've provided some significant landscaping. Per the Center Village master plan requirements, again, this is going to look really familiar to you, but this is the area of the brook walk that we're looking to do along Beaver Brook to beautify that area and to provide some respites and some benches, the little pocket park here, and some access from the first floor of this new building to the brook walk. So you can see the kind of the color changes a little bit in this area here. We'd like to do it because of the proximity to the brook and the same material we used for the grist mill, which is basically compacted pressure fine, so it's not completely impervious, and it's not paved surface, although it is ADA accessible in this area. Because we are closer to the brook in this area than the existing pavement, we wanted to make sure this area, although beautified, was not completely impervious to infiltration in this area. The floodplain that runs through the site, you can see on other plans, but essentially climbs the site and comes through the site in about this location here. It goes down with Beaver Brook. So this side is at about 124.3, and right up here it's at about 128, about 125, kind of towards the middle here. So what I did provide you with in a future plan, which also has some color on it, which will be helpful. I'm going to skip through all of the other site plans, is a cut fill analysis, which is obviously super important when you're doing work within the floodplain. We had a tiny little area on the grist mill that ended up being within the floodplain. Certainly this site is much more significant to the work that we're doing within the floodplain. So you can see this has been color coded. Green areas are cut and red areas are in fill, which I think is pretty helpful. And our cut fill analysis is on the side here. And we were very cognizant to make sure that our cuts were greater than our fills. So we're actually providing additional flood storage on the site.
Excuse me, Katie.
Yep.
What was the color coding again? Green is what and red is what?
So green is cut and red is fill.
Okay, thanks.
So this is helpful to kind of determine where we set the building at an elevation that's just slightly higher than this side of the site. We wanted to keep it really low so that the area within the footprint of the building in the garage is considered flood storage. The floodwaters will rise within the building and stay there and provide the flood storage to mimic what was there today. So you can see in this bottom column here, you can see our area of cut, our area of fill, and our gross cut and fill, and we're in cuts everywhere. And that's good for the floodplain because that means we're providing more floodplain storage between each of these elevations. And we've studied from 121 to 122 at 1 foot intervals per the regulations to show that we meet the standard in that area. Let me go back to the colored plan because it's easier for you all to see. We've also looked at, under the redevelopment standards, we have to make sure that the site is going to be better in the post-development condition. So besides the fact that we have eliminated about 1,200 square feet of impervious on the site from a pre to post-development condition, we've also looked at the drainage system. And I talked a little bit about what's out there today, and DPW has been able to help us uncover the storm scepter, which is located in this area, and they've asked us to inspect it prior to construction. Essentially what we've looked at doing is taking out all of the deep sump, all the catch basins that are on site, replacing them with deep sump-hooded catch basins. There are some catch basin to catch basin connections, which is something that you don't want to see because you don't want a catch basin to flow to another catch basin and kind of toss up everything that's within the sump and bring that material downstream through the pipe. So what we've done is we've reformatted the drainage system so that all catch basins now discharge to a drainage manhole. And then all of these drainage areas here still will discharge through the storm scepter 900, which exists here today, and then out to the wetland. So we've benefited and upgraded the drainage in this area, and the storm scepter will remain. That was put in during the Santander construction of the new building. The rest of the site was a little trickier because certainly we're close to water table, where the wetlands is right at the back of the site and the brook runs along this side of the site. We also had to be extremely cognizant of cut and fills because we can't be filling within a floodplain. So we looked at areas again to pull as much pavement away from the wetland area as possible. And what we've provided is instead of allowing the pavement to run directly adjacent to both the brook and the wetland, is we've provided two areas of off-site flow, of off-pavement flow. So there's an area here in front of the new condominium building, which we've removed pavement to do this. We're looking at having this area run off to a sediment forebay. This sediment forebay will collect any of the sediment that comes off of these paved surfaces, and it allows some of the sediment to settle out This has been designed per the water quality volume of the area that contributes to this. And then what we've done is provided a grass swale that basically meanders through this new landscape area adjacent to the wetland to allow for additional infiltration, additional TSS removal, and additional essentially time that the stormwater is now going to take to get between the paved surfaces and the wetland and Beaver Brook. We've done a very similar thing over here, and we've created a forebay adjacent to the building here, which captures a portion of the stormwater that now sheet flows off of this area. That forebay again has been designed per the water quality volume, and it'll meander through a grass swale down into the brook. We've created these two little boardwalk bridges that go over this swale to connect the sidewalk through. So you can see these two little areas here are a little bit darker. And what that does is it provides some increased TSS removal based on the water quality volume that's allowed to settle out, and certainly allows an increase in time for it to reach both of these resource areas. In this small corner over here, you see very faintly a future pedestrian bridge. This is something that's just in the Center Village master plan that we wanted to account for as something the town might look at doing into the future. This is not part of the project at this time, so I just wanted to clarify that. The building itself, let me go through the drainage. This is the building itself. This is just to show you the flood vents. Normally I wouldn't show you the building, and they're hard to see on this because they're teeny tiny right at the elevation of the garage. And you can see them on all sides. This is the flood vent itself. It's a smart vent, and this is FEMA approved. What this does is it stays shut so that there's no critters wandering into the building during non-flood events, essentially. And there's nothing that can really get into the building. This reacts when there's floats within this door that essentially when it touches water, they will go up, they will move up to allow solids up to 3 inches to pass through these float slots. Each of these is designed to alleviate 200 square feet of enclosed area. So we have 74 vents that we've proposed on this building. And that's based on the enclosed area of the garage where the water could essentially not be trapped, but essentially get into to allow for floodplain storage. So this is a product that we've proposed for this site. And this is based on, this is just the architectural rendering, which kind of shows you how these vents will be situated throughout each side and each end of the building to allow for that passage of water. We do have some initial comments from, I'm going to go back to colored plans so we can look at that. We do have some detailed comments from the Department of Public Works. We also have some comments certainly from the different departments and the planning board. So we do anticipate revision as we work through. And I know we don't have any technical comments yet from DEP, although we did see a file number pop up this week on their website. So they've received everything. So we're here tonight to get certainly your initial comments and your initial views. We know that there is most definitely a revision coming. We'd like to capture as many comments from all of the boards, committees, and commissions that we're seeing to make our package as representative of all boards, committees, and commissions as we move forward. So I'm looking forward tonight to hearing any comments, questions that we can certainly work on in the coming weeks. With that, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you very much, Katie, for your presentation. We appreciate that. And again, for members of the public, what we're going to do next is we'll turn to our commissioners. We'll give our commissioners an opportunity to ask questions, make comments, and then we will then go to the public as well after the commissioners ask their questions for public questions and comments. But as Katie Enright, the civil engineer, stated, it appears that this will be the preliminary meeting tonight. Most likely we'll have a continuation to another night for further follow-up meetings. But let me now turn to our commissioners and see if the commissioners have questions or comments at this point. Dave McLaughlin.
Yes, thanks, Chris. Katie, when you do the prelim, what would be the order of construction of this site?
That is a good question. So we have, this is a little complicated. So we have two different parties that are working on this. Oddfellows Project LLC is doing the restaurant and the apartments in the Oddfellows building. And Stonegate Construction will be doing the renovation to Fisk and also the multifamily building. At this point, we anticipate them all starting as soon as we have permits to do so. Haven't heard otherwise. But there are two separate funding sources that are working through this project. And as part of kind of the conditions of the deal, everything in the site itself needs to be done essentially at the same time because there's no way to kind of parse that out. So I would envision that it's potential that the buildings be done at different times, but that the site itself is necessary for all of the redevelopment here.
My concern is that you would effectively decommission the existing runoff, and how would you handle that? Because you're changing the catch basins, you're changing some of the runoff. What happens if we have a substantial flood while you're in the middle of construction and that site floods? There's no way to control the runoff, is there?
Right, so that's a good question. So we'll have to work together with the contractor, certainly as the project gets approved, to set up different phasing of the utilities. So we could certainly keep the catch basins themselves and provide them with silt sacks on site. During some of the construction, those areas are still going to be paved and they'll still be located generally in low spots. We haven't changed it substantially. And they would be still directed to the storm scepter and then out to the wetland. There may be some interim sediment forebays and areas throughout the construction to make sure that that doesn't happen. So we will have to file a NIPD's permit, and we will have to provide a stormwater pollution prevention plan, which we'll be able to work on once we have a better handle on construction timing, seasons, et cetera. So that's something definitely we'll need to handle.
Is any work being done to the Oddfellows Hall because it's right abutting the stream?
Yes, so the Oddfellows Hall will be essentially completely re-sided and there'll be all new windows put in.
So will you come before us with that project? Because that's not really referenced in this one, is it?
So I've never actually come before you for just the building siding before. So I could provide that information prior to the.
No, my concern right. is the history says, and I don't know, it may not be true, that over the years there's been a lot of Beaver Brook in the basement of that building. And I don't know whether your client is going to address that problem, or if it doesn't exist, it's not a problem. And the other is, how do we protect the stream while you guys are renovating that building? Right. Those would be two questions I'd like some answers to.
Yep, no, I'd be happy to. So I can provide the architectural plans of the Fisk House renovation prior to the next meeting with any revisions that we do. And I can speak to the property owner and talk about the flooding in the basement, and also talk to my clients about how that work is going to be accomplished, essentially up to the brook, and have that information for you.
I mean, right. It may very well be an old wives' tale. I have no idea how true that is.
Okay.
Does your client own to the middle of the stream?
So, sort of. So you can see here, it is to the middle of the stream, pretty much. And then up here, it's kind of more to the edge of the stream. So it basically touches the corner of the building. So that's a good question. We're going to have to talk to the neighbor about.
Okay, but if your client owns to the middle of the stream, I assume you would assume responsibility for maintenance of the side of that side of the stream that's in your, in the embankment area, because you're going to have a lot of people wandering around there, whether they're occupants or they're people, walking on the pathway. And we
absolutely. We're inviting people by the inclusion of the brick walk and kind of facilitating the vision of the center village. We are inviting people to use that, and that will be a public walkway.
When you built the other unit across the street, I can't recall. I know we did have discussions about what material was going to be used in the pathway and whether it was impervious or pervious. I can't recall what you finally did. Is it going to be whatever, the same kind of material so that it will accommodate some runoff?
Exactly. It's exactly the same. So we're looking at, certainly it's the same developer who'll be constructing this, and we plan on using the same, which is a crusher fines in the area, which will allow some permissivity of stormwater in that area.
Okay. Hey, Katie, and if not tonight, but can you double check to make sure that the snow storage they're proposing meets the state standards? I can't, something tells me it had to be 75 feet away or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
we don't need it. We don't need an answer tonight.
It's 75 feet.
So well, are these two, there's what, 3, 4?
No, yeah, no, I got to move some of those before I see you again.
Okay, so snow storage is open. These flood vents that you're talking about, Katie,
Yes.
have you or your client had experience with them in the past?
No,
How do you know they work?
because they've been certified by FEMA. And there's a significant amount of engineering certifications on their website. I'd be happy to provide.
Okay, no.
Yeah, there's a lot of information.
Chris Tamula, have you ever seen them working?
I have not. I've seen other types of them, but again, if they're certified by FEMA, I mean, what are we to say?
Yeah, no, right, no, that's fine. It's not, I don't know whether it's our responsibility or not, Katie, right? If there is a flood and the vents work, do the tenants have time to get their cars out of the garage?
So that's the intention. So
And how would that work? There's some kind of a call list or something?
that's a very good question. So that is something we're going to have to work out with the condominium and the condominium association.
Yeah, I don't really think it's a conservation question. All right, my final question is, why is this building within the 50-foot no build zone?
Essentially, so because I feel it does a better job at protecting the resource areas than having the parking lot on that side would. I mean, certainly.
Why is that? Because obviously you might be able to move the building further back and move the parking lot closer to the stream. But why do you think that's less conservational?
So essentially right now there's significant parking that goes right up to pretty close to the edge of both the brook and the wetland area.
Right.
When you produce a building, and we're producing some of these landscape areas, the building is going to provide the runoff from the roof is essentially clean because there's no cars being parked on it, certainly. The rainwater is not flowing off straight into the brook. By pulling the parking away, as far away from the brook and the wetland as possible, we're able to integrate some of these forebays and these grass swales to allow for the stormwater to have some time before it hits essentially the wetland and the river itself. And that seemed in the overall protection of the resource area and the ability to provide increased stormwater and increased TSS removal and provide essentially additional impervious surfaces and green surfaces nearest the brook and the wetland. This was what satisfied that. So we did move this building around a lot on this site.
Okay, Chris, that's all I had.
Yep.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Bill Vines, any questions?
Yeah, Katie, obviously we're going to have a sidewalk out there. Do you anticipate a sidewalk with the planning board and other boards, or are we going to do ours separately? Would it help?
We could possibly, and I'm going to see them tomorrow night. So we could possibly do a combined site walk if that's something that the commission would like. We did.
I think that helped on Route 40 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
no,
certainly I would invite a site walk. I think that I could try to schedule it tomorrow evening that we could all be there. At the same time, we did have a meeting. We did try to have a site walk with the planning board earlier in the process when we did a balloon float, but it was incredibly cold that day. So we didn't get a huge, So I would consider trying to get us all together, but if the commission itself wants to set a time and a date tonight, I can see if I can get the planning board on that, or I'd be happy to hold two.
Yeah, I'd like to do a site walk. As far as the brook itself, are you doing any invasive removal or any work along the bank or close to the brook as far as that type of thing? Or
Just to
that
get the
plan?
walk in, we hadn't proposed to do anything for invasive removal along the brook. We are about 5 feet from the brook with the walkway, so there's quite a bit of vegetation. I can find out what type of vegetation it is that looks like it's kind of taken over the area between the parking lot and the brook itself, and we can certainly talk to more of that during the site walk.
Well, on the other side of the
If
stream
anything.
is the area that Win Stanley was supposed to maintain, and they have not done a very good job of it. And there's a lot of invasives on their side of the stream. I don't know about your side of the stream. It would be nice to have a program where the two landlords kind of had a program to keep both sides of the stream clean.
Yeah, the Win Stanley portion of the invasive removal was downstream. It's not actually, because the other side of the stream in this area is actually the parking lot for fish bones.
Yeah.
So it's down a little bit further from the site, and the materials definitely look different
Well,
from what we were dealing with.
there's a ton of knotweed on that side of the stream, and that's something you can't get rid of unless you do it year after year after year.
Right.
And they had suggested they were going to cut it and ship it off to the Franklin Park Zoo because apparently giraffes like knotweed, but it didn't happen.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely look into that too as a separate.
Well, certainly if the town's going to continue with the pathway all the way down to Summer Street or down to the end, we're going to want that both sides of that stream to be maintained by a number of parties.
Okay.
Bill, more
Yeah,
comments, questions?
Yes, I agree with Dave also, Katie, as far as sequencing this. Are the different contractors going to be doing paving on, say, the Oddfellows area as opposed to this condo? Or is it all going to be done at one time? I think that's important to really understand the sequencing and who's doing what, when, and so it's all seamless together. So we don't get a mishmash of,
So the site work will have to be done. The majority of the site work will have to be done by one contractor. There's really no breaking it up into sections. I anticipate, and I can find out more information, that Oddfellows Project LLC will be taking care of certainly the Oddfellows building itself and the patio. That the sidewalk associated with the parking, all of the sidewalks within the subject site itself will be done at once.
I also agree with you as far as the placement of the condo building, where it is. We did something similar to the Stop and Shop years ago, where we let them put the building a little closer to the brook in the back, so that it was a buffer between the, of green space between the building and the brook, rather than have trucks or parking or different things like that. So I agree with that placement. Other than that, I think we need a site walk, and we'll go from there.
Hey,
Thank you.
thanks, Bill. Thanks. Mark Gibbs, are you able to comment at this point in time? I know you've been having some technical difficulties. Let's jump to Chris Timela at this point. We may hear from Mark in a minute or two, but.
Rather than have trucks or parking, different things like that. So I agree with that.
Mark's, we're still getting feedback. Should we hold or?
Yeah, let's see. We'll give him a moment. Mark, you there?
I think he asked where the construction equipment was going to be stored.
I I had to mute him. His is just not working.
All right, we'll have to, yeah.
Katie, can you use the phone number to call in?
Yeah, he can chat too. I don't know. I
Yeah,
did send him a
that might be better.
message. I sent him
Yeah.
a message asking him to shut off his TV or his if he's got it on YouTube or something. Because if it's on the TV in the background too, it's gonna put that echo out. So
Yeah, because he could watch us on video and use the phone to call in too.
right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I think we had a question, right, about the equipment, right, Dave? I think you heard.
I think that's what Mark was asking, where the equipment and material would be stored.
Yeah, so we can work on putting together the stormwater pollution prevention plan now. There's nothing stopping us from doing that, which will help provide some, during construction measures that will hopefully satisfy some of, a lot of these concerns about constructability.
Good. All right, Chris Timler, questions,
Sure.
comments?
Sure.
I think we had a question, right? Equipment, right, Dave? I think you heard.
I think that's what Mark was asking, where the
You gotta mute him.
equipment and material would be stored.
Yeah, so we can work on putting together the stormwater pollution prevention.
There we go. All right, I'm up now.
He's up.
Officially.
He's up.
All right, so Katie, you'd said that there's overall a reduction in the amount of impervious coverage on site. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And from a stormwater point of view, you guys will have a long-term operation and maintenance plan in place for taking care of the on-site systems, catch basins, manholes, et cetera?
Yes, and we'll add, I didn't add those, I just realized I didn't add in the operation and maintenance plan anything that exists on site today, so I will add the storm scepter to that.
Okay.
Maintenance documents so that everyone on site's aware of that.
Okay. And the storm scepter that's there, is that sized adequately enough to handle the flows that are going to be going to it now as part of the redevelopment?
Yeah, so it's a 900 that's there, so it's not the lowest step. I can provide a calculation to show that the flow going to that is satisfactory, and engineering's asked us to open it and make sure it still looks good.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. What's the
And it'll need to
condition
get,
of
I'm
it?
sure it needs to get cleaned out too.
Right. And Christina Papadopoulos will obviously probably provide engineering review comments for the whole development, including all the technical specs, the TSS removal calcs, the pre-post, et cetera, et cetera. She hasn't done that yet, right?
No, she has. I actually have a letter from her that she issued to the planning board for June 22nd, which has, actually, she probably didn't issue it to the planning board directly. This is from DPW with 32 kind of the comments, each individual comment that you get kind of independently from the engineering department. So I have 32 comments from her that we're addressing as we work on the first revision.
Okay. And is there any chance to infiltrate any of the roof runoff? What are you doing with the roof drains for the new building? Is there any chance to do underground infiltration or?
We're so unbelievably close to water table that it's pretty much next to impossible.
Okay.
Right. We've raised the site just enough to get overland flow. We tried to provide some kind of structural TSS removal, and it just wouldn't work with the
Sure.
analysis.
Okay. Yeah. No problem. And I guess for the commission's edification, I think what Katie had done in showing the 1 foot cut fill calcs, that's really what you should be getting from engineers on any future plans, where they're basically showing at every 1 foot interval, the slices are showing that there's more cut volume provided for anything in the floodplain than the fill volume. So you're showing that there's a net increase in flood volume. So I'm all set with that as well. So I'm good for now other than that.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Thanks very much. Carl, any comments,
I don't have
questions?
anything right now.
All right, thanks, Carl. John Swenson, anything?
About the snow storage.
Yeah, it sounds like that's an issue that we're gonna have to put, that's up on the issue list
Yeah,
as problematic.
yeah. I mean, other than that, no, there's no demolition going to be on the Oddfellows, right?
Right, that building is just being renovated, so it's all in.
Okay. Oh,
Good, good. Thanks, John. Thanks. And Katie Enright, I just want to say, kind of echoing Chris Timler's comment, that was a very comprehensive set of plans and diagrams and information that you provided the commission. So we appreciate that type of detail. It was very helpful.
Hey, Chris,
Yes,
Thank you.
I just want to ask Katie a couple more things.
you go ahead.
Dewatering, Katie, did you discuss how you're going to handle that? Or do you have a plan for that?
No, but I'll put that, that'll also end up in the stormwater pollution prevention plan and construction details. So we'll work on that before the next meeting.
Okay, and also, could I just ask you, prior to the site walk, can you just mark the four corners of the building on the pavement with paint or something? Just so we can visualize it better?
Yeah, we actually had them in. I'll have to check and see if they're still there. We have them.
You had them a while back, but I went out there today and I didn't see anything there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure that that's done.
It just makes it easier for us to see it,
Absolutely.
visualize it. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Bill. Katie Gurdon, anything from your conservation agent perspective you'd like to share at this point?
No, I think at this point it's more beneficial to just do the site walk and do a motion to continue.
Right, so.
Since there's
right.
going to be quite a few revisions, it sounds like, so.
Hey, Chris, let me ask Katie Enright, Katie Gurton a question. Do you know if the town has plans to extend the walkway down to Summer Street in the near future or not?
I thought that was always the plan, but I haven't heard
Yeah, I
anything.
know, but I qualified it by saying near future.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything recently floating around in the office or anything. So I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dave. This is a public hearing, so if somebody from the public has some questions right now for the applicant or comments they'd like to share, just got to raise your hand so we can recognize you and give us your name and address for the record. We will be continuing, this meeting for a future date, but please let us know if you have something you'd like to share at this point now.
There's someone named Mike who has some questions.
Mike? Yeah, Mike, please give us your name and address, please.
Mike Rigney, 19 Billerica Road. I do have a couple of questions. The first one being, Katie, can I get a copy of this presentation?
Yes, absolutely. And I believe it should be, actually, Katie G, you don't link everything on your agenda, do you?
Right. It's not part of the agenda the way it is with the planning board or anything like that.
I can send you the submission package.
All right. I'm pretty sure I've got your email somewhere. I'll send you something with an email from me. Okay.
Perfect.
To trigger it. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I noticed on this drawing, you do have a tree line indicated again around the borders of the abutters. Is that the existing tree line? This was a question at the planning board meeting. There was some question about whether that was going to be grass or trees. It's trees there now.
Right. So the light green is intended to be grass and the dark green is intended to be where the tree line ends up at the end of the project.
Right. So how is that going to compare to the existing tree line?
So basically it follows, you can kind of see,
Yeah.
This is part of the existing tree line because we're essentially staying right up to the pavement that's there today in this area.
Yep.
Here we're cutting around it a little bit and cutting around it up into
to that manhole cover.
And one of the things that we're going to be doing, Mike, is we're going to be upgrading the landscape plan in the coming meetings. We didn't do it for tomorrow evening. I'm waiting to get some comments from the planning board member that likes landscaping and comments on landscaping a lot.
That's fair.
So I'm waiting for those comments, but we will be providing additional vegetation in this corner.
Okay, so as an abutter, that's one of my major concerns is shielding from the new building, right? So if you're going to take down existing trees, I'd like to see them replaced with something that's at least as tall as what's there now. I had a question during your presentation, and maybe you've already answered it. Will the water, if there's flood water in the garage, will it be treated before it gets discharged to the river or the wetlands? Is it just going to be through the swales like anything else would be?
No, so what's going to happen is the floodwaters will actually flow through the garage and just continue along.
And so but they'll pass through the vegetation, right?
Well, so if this area was inundated with water,
right,
it technically the vegetation will also be underwater.
Yeah, okay. But so the swales aren't actually built up relative to the base of the garage.
No, basically they're for the everyday storm event. So that takes care of essentially the stormwater event that this area of the lot's not overcome with floodwaters. This area will be treated prior to entering the resource areas.
And would you expect the stuff that exits the north side of the building to go into the catch basin?
No, because this whole area will go to this swale, and this whole area will go to this swale. So the rest of the site here will go to the catch basins.
And then and then what goes to the catch basin, is that going to be discharged out to that existing kind of pond?
Here, it'll come
there now,
this corner of the wetland, right? So we're not replacing that.
Okay, any thought, or I guess maybe it's a question for the planning board, or the commission, can that be cleaned out? Oh, it kind of fills up with leaves and sediment, and over the last year or two, it's kind of accelerated. There's a couple of large trees that have fallen into it at this point.
So prior to getting an occupancy permit, we'll have to clean out the whole drainage system, which would include that pipe. So we'll have to do that.
But the entire pond.
Just the pipe.
Basin. Well, because at some point there's not going to be much of a catch basin left there.
Okay.
Right. Already the water level is at least a foot away from the kind of the bank.
Is it, Mike, this is Dave McLaughlin. Is it standing water?
There is standing water that that kind of fluctuates through the course of the year, and you can kind of tell whether it's a dry year or a wet year based on the level of that water. When it's wet in the spring, you'll have ducks and geese and even the odd beaver or muskrat or something swimming through it. This time of year, typically it's a little bit lower, but it's really pretty low. The frogs are trying to get away from me as I walk past it, and then they got to take a couple of jumps before they get into the water itself.
Yeah, sounds like that's something we can take a look at on our site walk.
Yeah, I think at this point it's most beneficial to schedule a site walk and wait for the revisions on this. Going off of a plan.
Before we do
we
that,
can't really tell what's out there.
Before we do that, Mr. Rigby raised an interesting question. Katie Enright, is the condominium agreements with the residents going to prevent oil changes in the garage?
Yes, it can. I believed we had to do that up the hill on Gristmill also.
Okay, it should.
That is a good point. And
then the last
Mike,
thing
some more stuff. Yeah.
Just one thing, and I guess you've already touched on it, but is there any responsibility or any possibility, I guess, of getting the river itself cleaned out a little bit? There are some, here and there's tires, there's debris. I don't know how much of that is the responsibility of this property. And I assume that depends in part on where exactly the property lines are, but we're not going to have, I don't know when we'd have another chance to get into it.
I mean, certainly along the area that is shown on the project, we can certainly look at that. And if there is trash or debris, that can be taken out as part of this order. And we can look for that a little bit on our site walk too.
Okay.
Mike, thank you. We appreciate your input and questions.
Yes, you're very welcome. Thanks for taking them.
You bet. Is there anyone else from the public that would also have some questions at this point? And again, the focus is on conservation, wetlands type questions. But if you have some questions or comments right now, just give us your name and your address, and we'll take those. All right, it looks like we're okay for now. And we will still be accepting public input at our next meeting as well. Let's see, we need a motion for a site walk. What are we looking at for possible? I mean, first of all, I guess we're looking at continuance. Katie Enright, we've got meetings, it looks like tentatively August 4th or August 18th when the commission's coming back, but we'd want to probably have a site walk before we come back.
Sure.
What type of data do you think we're looking at for a possible continuance?
Definitely August 4th.
Okay. What's the commission's interest as far as site walks go, as far as timing?
You can do in the evening, right?
Got the light is still there. Any night in particular, any problems? I know Chris.
When does the planning board meet? If we want-
Tomorrow night.
So okay, so maybe next week sometime, huh?
How about Monday?
Monday works for me.
That's what?
27th.
Works for me.
What do we say? 6:30, 6:15, something like that.
Earlier the better.
And we go for 6 o'clock then. So Monday, what was the date again?
27.
27th.
And it's 6 o'clock. All right, can we have a motion then to that effect for a site walk?
So move, Dave McLaughlin.
Motion by Dave, seconded.
Second, Carl.
Carl Bishop on the second. All those in favor, we'll do a quick roll call. Dave,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and Mark can make a signal to us if he needs to. But the motion carries.
And we'll meet in the parking lot, Katie?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, you'll see us. We'll be in the back.
Great. And then Bill, to Bill Vine's point, it'd be great to have those 4 corners of the building really marked well, so we can take a good look at that in particular.
Sure.
That'd be good. And then we need a motion as well now to continue to our meeting of August 4th. We have a motion, please.
Move.
Carl in the motion, or is that Bill? Was that your motion?
Yes.
Bill in the motion,
Second.
and Chris Timmel on the second. We'll do a roll call in favor. Dave,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Carl,
All right.
John.
Aye.
Very good. And Mark, if you want to make a signal to us, go ahead. Otherwise, the
thumbs
motion carry, a thumbs up. Motion carries. So we're all set. We have a site walk scheduled and we're continuing the meeting. We have a site walk Monday at 1 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Excuse me. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry about that. 6 o'clock. Yeah, 6 o'clock. And then we coming back on August 4th.
Thank you all very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Katie, very much. Appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, moving along in our agenda for this evening, we have a discussion item of Cushing Place. It's on the agenda. Katie, Gert, maybe you could give us some background on that item if you could.
Yeah, this is going to be tough because this is what Mark wanted to talk about, but
Mark,
we're having
okay.
trouble with Mark. But I think we kind of touched upon it, what we were just talking about, cleaning up the invasives. And Katie had emailed me earlier. Katie Enright had emailed me earlier today saying Jay Finnegan is willing to meet us out at Cushing Place again. Mark and I, or whoever else wants to go to discuss the cleanup. He said they really honestly hadn't gotten to it because of the water levels last fall. But they're ready to do anything that we point out if we want to schedule another site walk with him. So that was kind of more, it was along the lines of what we were talking about, cleaning up the brook for the walk.
Mark Gibbs is raising the question. He should go out there with you.
Gert, maybe if you give some background on that, I don't think.
Yeah, this is.
No, okay.
Am I coming out on this at all?
I hear you now, Mark.
I think he kind of. No, he still has that awful echo of everything.
Oh my gosh.
So, Mark, is your TV's not on, right?
He's definitely got a real delay lag in his
He
signal.
has a huge delay, and then we get all his delay basically. So we're hearing the delay he's hearing.
Yeah, it's a terrible delay.
So
Well, let's keep the pressure on this. We want answers, and I mean, I think it's well, you know, we want to do a site walk. We want to get out there and get the thing done right. And Dave, we can see you now in the picture.
Yeah, you can see how ugly I am.
Yeah, you're all right. You know. Yeah, right.
We can discuss maybe. I don't know if Jay will be at the site walk for Oddfellows, but maybe we can discuss the Cushing Place. But I can contact him for another site walk and let Mark know.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Dave, remember the time Bobby Greenwood showed up for a meeting and had a patch over his eye?
Yeah.
He looked like a pirate then.
So you're comparing me to Bobby Greenwood, huh?
I am. I know that's a compliment, but you know. Let's say so that's Cushing Place. Then the 8th Avenue. That was one that I got a report from somebody over at the lake saying that somebody on 8th Ave was dragging some construction type stuff down into the wetlands. But Katie, you went out there and didn't see anything today, right? When you looked, huh?
No, and the weird thing about number 11 8th Ave is that it's considerably higher than the swampy wetland area, which is our property. So for them to drag it down, I don't.
How far would that be?
I'm talking, I mean, it's a dead end street and I didn't know that, so I went down it. I thought they abutted the lake directly, but it's a dead end street and it's got to be a good 15 to 20 foot hill. I mean, it's steep. So I don't know. And I drove down Willis because the complaint's on Willis.
Right.
And all I could find was like a pile of loam, but it wasn't significant. And
well,
unless it's like underwater in the lake, I don't know. But I wasn't about to go scuba diving, so.
I'll let the person know that complained to me that you looked at it, didn't really see anything.
Yeah, if they can, if they can get me some pictures. I mean, sometimes that's the best way if I get actual pictures. Or if they want to meet me out there to show me, it might. I did drive back and forth a couple times. So.
How far would that be?
I'm talking. I mean, it's a dead end street, and I didn't know that, so I went down it. I thought they abutted the lake directly, but it's a dead end street, and it's got to be. I can't listen to myself talk on the delay.
We hear you.
Oh God. Okay.
We hear you fine.
All right. So we'll all right. Well, thanks for checking into that. And then continual business. We've got land management. Dave.
Yeah. Let me give you some updates. Russell Mill, Carl Bischoff, myself, Mike Donahue, the fire chief, and Barry Moore, who is the president of New England Mountain Bike Association, have agreed tentatively on 3 extraction points at Russell Mill. Just a quick reminder, there's been 3 accidents in the last year that's required the fire department to go in and help somebody out of Russell Mill. We've identified the kind of markers we want to use. Fire chief was going to go over and talk to the fire chief at Bill Ricca, because one of the extraction points would be at Sullivan Ave, which is in Bill Ricca, that goes into Russell Mill. So we're moving ahead on that. We're going to probably need to purchase up to. You getting ready to go home, Carl? Is that what
Nope.
We'll probably need to purchase about 30 signs, because what we'll do is we'll have a sign at the extraction point, of which there'll be 3, and then we'll space signs every couple of 100 yards into the reservation for a total of maybe 10 or 11 signs. And the purpose of it is where people will know where they are, and if they have a problem, when they call in, they'll be able to say, I'm at point ABC. May cost as much as $3,000 in signs. We'll have to figure out what that is and where the money comes from. Cranberry Bog, you all know the town meeting approved the $25,000. Paul Cohen has directed the DPW to start that project. I told them I'd like it done by the fall. We have to wait and see what happens. On open space, you all know that Warren Pole property has been recommended as a purchase by CPC. The town manager is scheduling a special town meeting the end of August to get approval from the town meeting to spend CPC money to purchase the land. I guess, Carl, it's been appraised, so you guys know what the value is you're going to look for. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah.
The next one is Misty Meadows. The town is not going to offer to buy Misty Meadows, but what I understand, and it's not firmed up yet, is that the town will offer or give its right of refusal to the Center Water District. Now, I don't quite know legally how that works because they're two separate corporations. The town's one corporation, the water district is a second corporation. It's always been my understanding you can't convey value without receiving value, but we'll have to see how that works. But the point is for us, remember when Mr. Doyle had a draft purchase and sale agreement, they carved out a 26-acre parcel, which was going to be for conservation. Don't know where that is in this relationship with the water district. They all say, oh, well, we'll keep it forever and it'll be conservation. But I think as a commission, if we ought to try to have something more succinct than just that. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. We'll have to update our inventory and priorities of property when those two pieces go away. We might want to add the Sportsman's Gun Club, which is up abutting Oak Hill, and we might want to add Charlie Parley's horse farm, which sooner or later is going to come up for sale. There still is, Carl, I think there still is some capacity for conservation on CPC.
Yeah, the debt for the town hall rolls off at the end of this fiscal year, and the cost for the Warren Pole Farm would be half of that service. So there'd be headroom.
Okay. And the last point I have, Chris Garahan, is when Warren Pole closes and when it officially gets transferred to the Conservation Commission, which is probably at least a year from now, we'll need to convey some kind of a subcommittee with the town to figure out what we want to do with the land. Is it going to be trails? Is it going to be farming? Is it what is its use going to be? And then the bigger question will be, we'll be rapidly approaching 1,100 acres under reservation management, and how do we manage that number of acres? Bill's doing a great job with costs, but at some point we may have too much land for them. So I don't have an answer, but we need to talk about it going forward. That's all I had, Chris.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Thanks. Anybody else on land management? Agents report, anything more, Katie?
Nope, that's all I have for tonight.
We caught up in minutes, right?
We are. I have to get them onto the website. Apparently, our last minutes are from November on the website. So.
Oh well.
Yeah, when you're doing that, Katie, will you take down the draft report on what we wanted to do with Crooked Spring?
Oh yeah, yep.
It's
That's
been there a
still
while.
up there?
It's been there a while.
Okay.
All right, so I think that's it for tonight's meeting. We just need a motion to adjourn.
So move, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. Anybody? I don't think we need a second. All those in favor, we'll do a roll call. Dave,
Yes.
Bill,
Aye.
Chris,
Yes.
Carl,
Hi.
John, Mark. Yeah, we got a thumbs up from Mark. I know he's got a thumbs up there.
He's got the delay. Hold on.
We'll give him a chance.
He's got his
See
thumbs
how
up
long of a
somewhere.
delay. It's been like 10 seconds, so let's see.
That's,
There he is. He's smiling now. I think you heard that comment from Mr. Timolo.
I've never seen a delay
There
like
may
that.
be a response coming. It may be a delayed
Yeah.
response, but it may be coming.
Yeah.
Might
I've
be
never
worth
seen a
waiting.
delay like this. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
So
Well, I mean,
where's our
Mark
where's
is kind
our-
of a delay guy.
what are the coconut shrimp? You know, we're supposed to at least have virtual coconut shrimp, aren't we?
I had it last night, and I'm gonna have it again tonight.
Just remember, guys, we're still on live.
Oh
okay.
yeah, our ratings are probably climbing, Dave.
All right, we'll see you guys on Monday.
Good night, everyone.
Okay, so,
All right.
yeah.
Take care.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
All right. How do we sign off this thing, Katie?
Lower right hand